So this past week, we did a message called Real Community as a part of our Real Life series. This past week, I really focused on talking about what biblical community really is. And we talked about the 4 marks of biblical community. Hey, if you weren't at the service, feel free to go online and check it out at antiochgt.com. You can watch the message there. One thing that I did not mention that I wanted to make sure that I covered kind of as a follow-up to the message is this. Biblical community is not a perfect community. You know, this past week, I really kind of challenged us as a church and reminded us that God did not design us for isolation. He designed us to be in community. And in Acts chapter 2, we see there are 4 very strategic marks of biblical community. Things like unity with one another, things like outreach to the people who are around us, things like a love for one another. Now, these are all the marks of biblical community. But one thing I didn't mention, we just didn't have enough time, is that biblical community does not mean perfect community. I did not want to leave the impression that biblical community is, 4 couples sitting around the table, having a great, deep theological conversation about God's Word. In fact, the kids are quietly and perfectly off to the side, doing coloring sheets of Jonah in the well. Man, that's not exactly a perfect picture of biblical community. True biblical community is messy. And the reason it's messy is because biblical community is about getting in close relationship with people. Hey, has this ever happened to you? You met someone and man, you just really liked this person. You liked what they stood for. You liked the things that they said. You were just really just relationally attracted to this person. Now, the more you got to know this person or the closer you got to that person, you started to realize, you know what? This person's a little bit different than you had expected. The closer you got to them, you started to realize they've got some bad habits. The closer you got to them, you started to realize, you know what? They've got some flaws that you didn't see from a distance, but the closer you got to them, now all of a sudden you started to see the imperfections in their life. Now, sometimes that's a turnoff and you might be tempted to sever that relationship. Or here's the thing, man, when we start getting close to people, we start seeing those imperfections. It really starts challenging us in our own Christian walk, in our own belief. We start to have to wrestle with questions like, will I truly love this person the way Christ loved me? Relationships are really about getting close to people. When you start getting close to people, things start to get messy. So biblical community does not mean perfect community. What it means is that we allow ourselves to be opened up to people and allow not just for us to see their flaws, but we start allowing for other people to see our flaws. We call that transparency. Without transparency, I can kind of project this image of who I want you to think I am or who I want you to see. But in true biblical community, man, transparency starts to happen and you start to see the real me. You see, here's the thing. I think all of us, we desire to truly be known by someone. We desire to truly be known by a group of people, and not just for them to know the projected me that we want to be or the projected me that we hope we are someday, but the true person that we really are today. Isn't that how we grow? Isn't that how we're challenged in our faith, when we can start to be transparent with other people in our lives? And so, hey, as you reflect upon biblical community, man, give up the idea that it's a perfect community with perfect relationships. And biblical community is all about transparency. It's about allowing yourself to be opened up to a group of people who will love you for who you are and will love you enough not to allow you to stay that way, but will challenge you and spur you on in your relationship with Christ. Hey, just a follow-up to this past week's message. Pray that God bless you this week. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday.